Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Writers Infusion. I'm your host, Susan. I'm here with my fellow critiquers, Dave, Jen, Matt, a guest critiquer, but we might keep him for good, and Julie and Ed.
It's a tryout.
No pressure though.
We might discard, we might keep them.
So what we have today is a novel excerpt, young adult, and it is about, the author writes, my story is about a girl named Alex who loses her parents when she is young, and she is friends with a boy named Ryan. And this is an excerpt from the middle of the story. We're not sure where, okay? And Julie's going to be.
She remembers her fingertips trailing out the window, and the kind of wind worked up by pushing the car a little too fast, and something vaguely country playing on the radio. Then Gigi's mama takes a sharp breath, like she's choking, and Alex lunges forward to peer through the two front seats. Gigi's mama uses her palm to shove Alex in the chest, trying to get her to sit back down, but Alex struggles and keeps her eyes wide open. Her mama and daddy's car is spinning round and round, tiny like little blue tops that she and Ryan spin on the sidewalk. Gigi's mama slams her foot down on the brakes and skates to a stop. Alex is jerked backward, but she's still watching the car spin and slam into a tree. Alex jumps out of the car, and Gigi's mama screams at her to stay, but she's running. Cars have stopped all across the road, and people have begun to gather like a cloud around the car. On one side, the metal has crumpled like a fistful of paper. The other side is pinned against the tree at an awkward angle, half wrapped around it in a grotesque comma. There are firemen there now. Alex did not even hear their sirens pierce the air. They scan the area, and their eyes land on what has happened. Now Alex sees it too, and she cries out like a wounded dog. Her parents' bodies have been flung from the car, and they lie far away from it in a limp heap. Alex is there now, and she stands over them, too horrified even to scream. Her mama's back has been broken, nearly snapped in two, and she is bent double on the ground, her red hair caught in the mud, and her mouth open, as if to get a breath she will never have. Her dad is partially on top of her mom. His glasses are in little pieces around him, and his face is bathed in blood. And then Alex sees the blood, everywhere seeping into the mud on the ground and making her mom's white shirt see-through. The blood is on Alex's sandals now, and she's on her knees in it, reaching out to touch their still warm faces and press her face in the blood and wishing that it were her own. But then there are firemen grabbing at her, and one lifts her and carries her away. Now she's found her voice, and she's screaming, cursing, words with jagged edges to hit someone, anyone. "Mama!" she screams. "Daddy!" The fireman holds her in his arms, smelling vaguely of smoke and wood. He takes her back to Gigi's mom, who's running over in panic. She holds out her arms for Alex, but now Alex has grabbed onto the fireman with two fists and will not let go. She screams and fights until the fireman yells over the noise, "Where do you want to go, Alex?" And then there's only one name she can get off her lips. "Ryan!" And again, "Ryan!" Gigi's mom shows the fireman where to go, and Alex does not even realize that it's only a block away. He carries her there, dripping with tears, and bangs on the door. Ryan opens it, and he sees Alex. She pulls herself out of the fireman's arms and flings herself on him, and his arms are out and he holds her. He tugs her down to the steps and half pulls her into his lap. She beats his chest and screams curse words into the air, and he does not say anything at all. Then she holds up her hands, still bright with the parents' blood, and rubs it onto her face. "I wish I was dead, Ryan. I wish it was me instead." He looks at her, and there is panic on his face. "No, Alex, don't say that. I still need you." She's too tired to argue, so she slumps against him as the blood dries on her cheekbones and pant legs, and her body quavers until there's only the sound of Ryan's breath, which smells of candy canes, and the gentle beating of his heart.
I definitely get a feel for what Alex is going through. You know, from a higher level, I can picture she's in a car, she's been in an accident. I think there's some very good descriptors in here, such as on the first page, the metal has crumpled like a fistful of paper, and some others that are in here that went with the blood and how she's pressing her face in the blood, which is so horrible and poignant. I think a lot of what I'm finding and I can see this as a story that I'd want to read because I can see that there's a lot going on. It's the kind of book I would like. That being said, I had a hard time following this sequentially. You know, from a high point, from up here, let's say the first two paragraphs, I knew there was a car accident and that the car was spinning, and you eventually realize that, I don't know, that she's come out of the car, I guess. But when you really read it closely, it's kind of confusing. And I tried to point that out in my notes. So, halfway through the first paragraph, as an example, Gigi's mama slams her foot down on the brake and skates to a stop. And first of all, it's the car that skates to a stop. I know I'm being picky, but it actually makes a difference. But besides that, Alex is jerked backward, but she's still watching the car spin and slam into a tree. Well, how can the car be spinning if the car has stopped?
No,
So,
she was in the parents'
There are
car.
two cars.
There's
Her
two
parents' car
cars.
preceding them.
And
oh, really?
I had
I
to read it.
never got
I had to read
that.
it
I never
three
got
times.
that.
Yeah.
That the
Her mom and daddy's
I didn't
car
get
is
that reading the
spinning
first
round
time.
and round.
The parents' car is in front of them.
Yes.
She's in back with, she's in the second car with
Gigi's
her
car.
friend.
And she's watching the car.
And she's
Oh,
watching her
really?
parents'
That's how
car
and I wrote that.
spin
Yes.
and slam
Huge
into a tree.
confusion
Oh.
with that.
I thought that was crystal clear.
Oh, you did?
I totally
No,
got
no.
that right away.
Yes, I got that.
No,
Oh,
totally.
you did?
I
I had to
had
read
no
it two or
idea.
three
We agreed
times.
to
Because
that.
I didn't understand what was going on in the first bit. I had to read it too. She's here and she's thrown forward.
No,
No,
she's
but it's
leaning
different.
forward, Dave.
But
She
she
wants
was-
to see.
But she was thrown,
But this says
They
right
stopped
here,
short,
okay,
she's still
excuse
back.
me.
Yes.
The third sentence.
Yes.
Gigi's mama uses her palm to shove Alex in the chest, trying to get her to sit back down, but Alex struggles and keeps her eyes wide open. They're
She's
in this-
going between the front seats to look at her parents' car, and the friend's mother is pushing against her
Trying to
just in the
push her
back,
back.
trying to keep her in the back seat safe.
Oh, because it's Alex and it's
Yes.
Gigi. All right, now I get
There
it.
you go.
Oh.
I found this totally
Oh,
confusing.
yeah.
Yes.
I
It's a little
I had
confusing.
no idea how many people there were or where they were.
Yes.
And seeing
Well, now
Gigi's
that I know that,
mama,
I could reread it. and
give
see
me a
it.
name.
yeah, that's what I wrote at the end.
Yes.
Now I get it, there were two cars.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, I'll tell you, if I could dovetail Sue's comments on language, I like the fist. I would say crumpled like a paper in an angry man's fist, because that would be more crumpled. And I loved the grotesque comma. I gave you a check plus for that. But I want to know why she's not in her parents' car. And I'd like to know if they're going to a state fair, to a school program, if they're coming home, why they're in two cars, where they're going. Or, as I first read it, were they rushing to the scene of said accident? But now I know it's happening. The accident's about to
Yeah.
happen. And I would, with all due respect, politely change some of the description. I don't like it, but I'm impressed by the mother's back is broken in two, that father's glasses are mangled, but dad's partially on top of her. I would rather say that he has a leg slung over her torso, that it's not, there's nothing untoward about it. And mom's white shirt becomes see-through, maybe just drenching her blouse in blood, so that you get the blood is everywhere, and it's horrific, but there's no sensuality or sexuality to it. That's how I would change it. And I don't know why the fireman just takes her to Ryan's house, why she doesn't seek solace in the arms of this parental unit, this Gigi's mom, whom she must trust. And I'm wondering how old she is. Because
want
it says
to
she
know-
plays
Yeah.
with
Well,
Tom.
the
With
problem-
Ryan.
This is-
They're
this
kids.
is-
This is the middle.
flashback
Oh, I
in the book
recognize
somewhere.
that.
Yeah.
I
This is the
recognize
middle
I
of
that.
wanted to know
Yeah.
too.
But she goes to
Presumably
Ryan,
we
so
know.
are they
The flashback,
teenagers?
yeah.
Is she
Yeah.
10? I really need to know that.
I would get, you know what, just a comment on the very end. I was guessing teenagers, but I know, I wish I had known that. I should have asked the author. So at the very end, on the last page, he looks at her and there's panic on his own face. No, Alex, don't say that. I still need you. I didn't think that was the right thing to say, because you have the scene where she's coming in, he's holding her, and when you
he
say,
shouldn't need her at that point.
right, right, not just that,
She needs him.
but I still need you is something that you say after like a long, drawn-out thing. It's
Yes.
like they've had this long thing, right?
That's what I felt in this,
Yes.
is
And
that
then-
more time needs to pass before some of these things
Someone would ever
are
say
said.
anything like that.
Yes.
So he might say, "No, Alex, don't say that. Don't, I'll help you. I'll help you."
Yes, he has to
Something
be there for her.
But it has to be a very immediate reaction to what has just happened. When you say, "I still need you," that has nothing to do with the fact that her parents have just died.
It's
in an
selfish.
accident.
Yeah.
Right, but
Yes.
it doesn't even make sense. It's not
Right.
like this is long, drawn-out thing, and now he's saying this at the end. So it's a very easy fix, just take it out. But just think again about, there's just been this horrendous accident, her parents have just died, she's seeking solace in the arms of someone who she's friends with, it sounds like at this point. And what would the friend say at that second? This has just happened, everyone's in
Yes.
shock.
Yes, he needs to
So just think
console.
about he needs to console her, and just think about it from that perspective.
Now, what's very helpful about reading something aloud is that you hear repetitions, and believe me, I repeat a lot. Dave tells me what words I repeat. He does it with joy. But in the second paragraph at the start, it says there 4 times. There, T-H-E-R-E, and there, T-H-E-I-R, granted, but it's heard as there, whether one's reading it aloud or reading in one's head too many times. So I made some edits to tighten it and put in a few word
Well, the first
changes.
sentence in the second paragraph
Yes.
is, there are firemen there.
If I'm in there,
Good.
Right.
You
yes.
know, it's like,
And sometimes you
This
don't know
is,
the side.
Right, so it's good to have others read it. Go
one of
ahead.
one of the points I would like to bring up has to do with language and word choices. I think in, one of the comments that I put down is, there are a lot of to-be constructions, like, this person is, or there is, or there are, or things like that. That's weak, and that doesn't convey a lot to the reader. And like on the top of page 2, as if to get a breath, she will never have. Get and have are weak words. They are like lowest common denominator
Yes,
words.
yes.
Vanilla.
Yes,
There are
reword
better-
that phrase.
Better words for that. And even on the top of page 3, he looks at her. You know, there has to be something stronger than looks. That's such a beige kind of word, you know, you want to, you know, I don't mean you have to pull out a thesaurus, but, you know,
I
there are
do.
there are
I
more,
love this word, yeah.
there
Actually,
are
you know
more
what?
I keep-
demonstrative
I have-
words.
I have a
Yes.
whole
than
list of,
those.
I mean, you can get them on the internet,
Oh,
but I
yeah.
have a list that I use. I should
Yep.
post it on Writers
Yes,
Infusion.
please.
I think
Yeah.
I'll do that. Yeah.
It's helpful to, words like said and
Ugh, you need
look
synonyms for said.
and walk. You
Seem.
need,
Seem is a big one.
Yes.
you
Just.
need a lot of
Get rid of
Always take it
I
out.
always
different ways to
Yeah.
say those
I
things.
always
Oh, I
take it
can
out,
tell
yeah.
what.
Lots of
I just
different
take it out.
I
of
know
the
you
sheet.
do.
shades of
Take it
meaning.
out.
Did I just say that?
Just take it out. Jen, go ahead. So in defense of the story, I would, so this is, I'm pretty sure a flashback, and in just in reading more of the plot line of the story, you know, that these two characters, Alex and Ryan, end up married, and Alex doesn't know that she loves him, and eventually she does realize that she loves him. So I think as far as this flashback and showing this scene, I think would be really strong backstory, if I can use that word. Just want to make sure that the author is using it in the right place in the story. So although I think this scene is very gripping, you know, and the book could certainly start with this, but I don't think that's how she started it. I think this is a
Right.
flashback.
Right.
So you just want to make sure that you use this in your story when it's going to give the most depth to the character. So maybe a point where she's really maybe pissed at Ryan. I don't know, I'm making this up. And then she remembers this. Or maybe there's some point where Ryan isn't there for her. And then she flashes back to this.
Yeah.
Someplace in their story. So I think you just have to be very selective of where you put the flashback, whether it's in the very beginning or if it's not in the very beginning. Make sure that it adds something to the relationship that we already know about them as adults.
Well, you know, we know that she didn't do, we know it's in the middle. I'm kind of impressed that she didn't do it at the beginning.
I'm
Because
impressed,
a lot,
yes.
a lot of
It's-
people
yeah.
would start
Send
the
us
book
the
like
beginning.
this.
Yeah,
Dump
seemed
the
like-
backstory in the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
So I was impressed by that too.
Yeah.
I think that was to the author's credit that it's because there would be like a draw to start with this because it is a
Yes.
very emotional story, part of the story. But I think it does. It's. I liked it, and yeah, there were word choice problems, and all those things are very easy to fix. But just the showing the scene and showing how Ryan played into that scene, and all she wanted was Ryan when she saw this horrific thing, and how he embraced her and the love between them, just as little kids. I think is going to be a very, very. It's going to add a lot of depth to the characters in the
I
story. So
agree.
I want to just commend you on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
You
and,
were saying backstory. What if it were chronological and we met them as kids?
Uh-huh.
Maybe
Maybe.
Then it wouldn't be a backstory, it would be the story
Right.
and the
Right.
developing
right,
This is
that's
relationship.
true.
it could be right. Yeah.
See, I'd rather go that route as opposed, backstories are so tough to get in.
I know. I
And
know.
flashbacks-
It is. It's hard.
Always, because you're somewhere, and then the flashback takes you back here to explain what's happening here. Well, if it happens in chronological order, then there's no problem. It happens not as a backstory, it happens as the
It
story.
depends on how she's telling the story, though,
Yes.
because it could be that there's something that the reader doesn't know about that's piquing intrigue in the reader, and then we get this and we go, oh, and it's a
Oh,
good
exactly.
moment. As a reader, it's like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's
This
okay
is such
too.
a powerful scene.
Yeah.
And this is
Yes.
obviously like this is probably the central event in this girl's
This is a
life.
springboard to the rest of the story. That's
Yeah.
why I think it should be
And their
chronological.
relationship, maybe.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
I think
she wanted
absolutely
one.
right. Where
Yes.
this is a very
Is important.
important
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, I think there is a lot of technical stuff in here that can be fixed, but I too overall like the story. I like what I've read. I mean, I could definitely get into this. So even though I think technically there's some stuff, and now that I know it's two cars, and you know, even though some of us did know and some didn't, even
It was my first time reading it, and I'm part of the camp of I didn't know it was two cars, so I wanted to go back and reread it to clear up the confusion.
Yeah, more of us.
But I'm usually pretty slow reading anyway, so I often have to go back and reread. But yeah, I'm part of that camp that was
All right.
confused.
So we've got 3 out of 5. That means definitely go back
And
and
clarify
make it
that.
very clear. Shouldn't be hard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then
It's
we'll
easy
get
to
it right
fix.
from the start. Then
Yeah.
they'll totally get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with action scenes, you want to know exactly what's happening.
Yes.
Bam, bam, bam. It should be really obvious because
Right.
you just want it to unfold. You don't
Yes.
want to have
Yeah, it
lot of
seemed a little
explanation.
You don't want
Yeah,
to jar
something.
the reader out of it. You want them to
That's
keep
right,
going
exactly.
and
You
Right.
want
go
them
for
to
the
be
ride.
right in it. Yep.
Well, there's a problem with the writing, is there's too much writing. On that first paragraph, her mama and daddy's car is spinning round and around. Get rid of this. Tiny, like little blue stops that she and Ryan spin on the sidewalk. Well, doesn't that just take you out of the story?
It sure does.
Yeah.
This, I understand the need for colorful writing and authorial voice and so on. Don't overdo it. That's lesson number 1. Don't try to sound like an author. Tell the story. You know, stuff like that just takes you out of the story.
Yeah, action, you have to stay there.
Yes.
You can't be going into, you know,
A long
like that
involved.
day that I went to the library.
If you want to say a red car, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But not red like the fire trucks that we used to play with when we were at the playground, and the ice cream truck went by and we,
Right.
you know, just stick with the story.
All right, so I think I'm going to summarize now that overall, it's got a lot there to work with, and it's a good story.
Powerful.
I would definitely read it. It's very
Tension.
powerful.
Gripping.
And gripping the whole bit. We've all made notes and marks on here, so if you can just take a look, that will help you with the technical part of it. So we also write in addition to what we're telling you. So we want to thank you very much for submitting, and thank you everyone else for watching this episode of Writers Infusion, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, I
Good
think
day.
we
What does
need
it
a
mean when
blog
it's
about
flashing?
backstory. I think I wrote you about that.
Backstory,
You
oh,
okay if I do a
yes.
blog on backstory?
Yeah.
I think it's.
Yes, we're
'cause
gonna
it-
call you
it-
blog
'cause you
girl
can
though,
do it
Jen.
well.
You're becoming blog girl.
And I
you
have
can
one
do
on
it-
critiquing too, that's
Okay,
how
I
you can
call
do
it-
it poorly.
I call them aching back stories.
Yeah.
I find
Oh, I like that. I love that.
Sore back.
That's good.
That's like blow
Yeah.
torture. That's like, I
Yeah.
know, yes,
No,
you
what
got me
about-
two words.
what
You know what
kind of
makes me
words?
As
sad?
our friend
That
Dave
story.
says.
I need see stories now.
Was it
I
story?
kind of look, I look for all this now, right?
Yeah, you
I
notice
see
it, don't you?
I see, and there are these famous authors, and not just
Yeah.
famous, but first-time famous authors
Oh, yeah.
that are around here.
Bestsellers, yeah.
They're bestsellers, and
Yeah.
it's like 10 pages of summary.
Yes.
I'm like, how do they get away with
I know,
Exactly.
how did they
Yeah.
get away with it? I know.
That's
It
right.
Well,
aggravates
you
me.
just said they're known authors.
Right.
Just ride on the
Dan
coattails.
Brown books.